The cargo ship came out of hyperspace like a wounded bird falling from the sky. Smoke poured from its engines. Plasma leaked from cracks in its hull. The Dreth captain, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms, watched his control screens flash red warnings. His ship was dying, and he knew it. But there, floating in the darkness near a dying orange star, was a space station. Human letters spelled out its name, Nova Dock. The captain had heard stories about human repair yards. Strange stories. Stories that made no sense to his people. But he had no choice. His ship would not survive another jump through hyperspace. He sent a distress signal and waited. The response came in seconds. A human voice, warm and calm, said, "Nova Dock here. We see you, friend. Come in slow and easy. Bay 7 is ready for you. We will guide you in, friend." The captain had visited repair stations across the galaxy. No one had ever called him friend. Kang Tae stood at the airlock of Base 7, watching the damaged ship settle onto the landing pad. He was 45 years old, with gray hair at his temples and hands rough from decades of work. He owned Nova Dock, but he never sat in an office. He worked on the floor with his people. He fixed ships with his own hands. The airlock opened, and the Dreth captain stepped out. His 4 arms hung tired at his sides. His eyes showed exhaustion and worry. He expected questions about payment. He expected cold negotiations. He expected to be treated like a number. Instead, Kang Tae smiled and bowed slightly. "Welcome to Nova Dock," he said. "My name is Tae. Are you hurt? Is your crew safe?" The captain blinked his large eyes. "What? Your crew," Tae repeated. "Are they injured? We have medical facilities, food, clean water, whatever you need. Almond, 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 almond. No, we are tired, but not injured." The captain looked confused. "You do not wish to discuss the repairs first? The cost?" Tae shook his head. "Ships can wait, people cannot. Come, let me show you to our guest quarters. You can rest while we look at your vessel." He led the captain through the station. Nova Dock was not like other repair facilities. Music played softly in the corridors. Workers walked past, laughing and talking. Someone was cooking food somewhere nearby, and the smell of spices filled the air. A human woman waved at Tae as she passed, carrying a welding tool twice her size. "This is unusual," the captain said. "We like to think so," Tae replied with a small smile. In Bay 3, a young woman named Yunhana was working on a Kelari warship. The Kelari were a proud warrior species, and their ships were built for battle. This one had taken damage to its left wing. The metal was burned and twisted. Hana touched the damaged section gently, running her fingers along the scorched metal. "I know it hurts," she whispered to the ship. "But I am going to fix you. I promise." A Kelari officer watched her from nearby. His name was Tyrion, and he had brought the ship here for repairs. He found the human woman's behavior very strange. She was talking to a machine. Machines did not have feelings. Machines did not feel pain, but he said nothing. He had heard the stories too. Hana picked up her cutting tool and began to remove the damaged metal. She worked slowly and carefully, like a doctor performing surgery. She did not rush. She did not take shortcuts. When she found a piece of the wing that could be saved, she cleaned it and kept it. When she found metal that was too damaged, she set it aside with something that looked almost like sadness. "You care about the ship," Tyrion said. Hana looked up at him. "Of course I do. She carried you through battle. She protected you. She deserves my respect." Tyrion had no answer for that. In another part of the station, a young engineer named Park Woo was in trouble. He was 28 years old, brilliant, and terrible at following rules. He had been assigned to check the systems on a Vethany trading vessel. Simple work, routine work. Instead, he had decided to improve the ship's reactor efficiency. The ship's owner, a tall, pale Vithani with silver eyes, discovered what he was doing and complained to the station administrator. Nari was a woman of 38 years, with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She had been a military officer before coming to Nova Dock. She handled logistics, schedules, and problems. Park Wu was often a problem. She brought him to Kang Tae's small office near Bay 1. He modified the reactor without permission, Nari explained. The customer is upset. Tae looked at Wu. The young man stood straight, but his eyes showed guilt. Tell me what you did, Tae said calmly. The reactor was inefficient, Wu said. I saw a way to make it better. I thought the customer would be happy. Did you ask the customer first? No. Tae nodded slowly. Wu, your skills are excellent. Your ideas are often brilliant. But these ships do not belong to us. They belong to the people who fly them. We must respect that. We fix what they ask us to fix. We improve what they want us to improve. We do not make changes without permission, even if our intentions are good. Wu lowered his head. I understand. Go apologize to the customer. Offer to undo your changes if they wish. And next time, ask first. After Wu left, Nari shook her head. That boy will either become the greatest engineer in the galaxy or cause a diplomatic incident. Perhaps both, Tae said with a small laugh. High above the repair bays, in an observation room with large windows, a Vithani woman watched the humans work. Her name was not important. She was an observer, sent by her government to study this strange species. She had been watching for 3 weeks. She had written many reports. But she still did not understand what made humans different. Today, she watched a human worker repair a small crack in a ship's hull. Simple work. But the human did not simply seal the crack. He cleaned it first. He checked for hidden damage. He reinforced the area around it. And when he was finished, he ran his hand over the repair and nodded, satisfied. The Vithani woman wrote in her report. They touch the ships. Not just with tools. With their hands. They treat damaged vessels the way one might treat a wounded animal. I do not understand why, but I believe this is important. She was right. She just did not know how right. That night, while most of the station slept, an emergency signal came in. It was powerful, desperate, and it came from far away. Nari was the first to reach the communications center. She read the message 3 times, her face growing pale. The Kellari Imperial Fifth Fleet had been ambushed. 27 warships were damaged. Many were dying. The nearest Kellari repair station was 6 weeks away. They would not survive 6 weeks. Admiral Voss, commander of the fleet, had sent the message. His pride was famous across the galaxy. His hatred of asking for help was even more famous. But now he was asking. He was begging. The message ended with coordinates and 3 words. Please help us. Please help us. Nari called Kang Tae. She called Hana. She called every engineer on the station. Nova Dock was about to face its greatest test. The first ships came out of hyperspace slowly, like tired animals returning home after a long hunt. They were damaged, but they could still fly. The humans of Nova Dock watched them approach and began preparing the repair bays. Then more ships came. These were worse. Hull breaches, failing engines, emergency lights flashing through cracked windows. Then came the last ships. These were barely alive. Admiral Voss's flagship, the Pride of Keller, arrived last. It was a massive warship, built to inspire fear in enemies. Now it inspired only sadness. Half of its weapons were destroyed. Its armor was torn open in a dozen places. Smoke poured from its engines, and its lights flickered like a dying heartbeat. Kang Tae stood in the main control room, watching the fleet arrive. 27 ships, thousands of Kellari soldiers, 1 human station. This is impossible, Nari said quietly beside him. We cannot repair all of them. We will not repair all of them, Tae replied. We will save all of them. There is a difference. The Kellari began to dock. Some ships could not dock properly because their landing systems were damaged. Human workers went out in small repair pods to help guide them in. It was dangerous work. One mistake could kill everyone. No one made a mistake. Admiral Voss walked off his ship with the careful dignity of a man trying not to show weakness. He was tall even for a Kalari, with dark red skin and scars across his face from decades of battle. He had fought in wars across the galaxy. He had never lost, until now. He expected the humans to look at him with pity. He expected them to see a defeated warrior. He prepared himself for the shame. Instead, Kang Tae walked up to him and bowed with genuine respect. "Admiral Voss, welcome to Novadoc. Your ships are in good hands. You cannot possibly repair all of them," Voss said. His voice was rough with exhaustion. "My own engineers say the damage will take months to fix." "Your engineers are thinking about perfect repairs," Tae said. "We are thinking about something else. Come, let me show you." He led Voss through the station. Everywhere they went, humans were already working. They swarmed over the Kalari ships like ants over fallen fruit. But they were not just fixing machines, they were also helping people. Human medics were treating wounded Kalari soldiers. Human cooks were preparing food. Human workers were setting up beds in empty storage rooms for crews whose ships had no working life support. "Why are you doing this?" Voss asked. "We cannot pay you enough for all of this." "We will discuss payment later," Tae said. "Right now, your people need help." "That is enough reason." Voss did not understand. His people would never do this. The Kalari helped their own. They did not help strangers. It made no sense. In Bay 12, Yoon Hana was standing inside the flagship's reactor room. The Kalari reactor was a beautiful piece of engineering, powerful enough to move a ship the size of a small city. But it was failing. The battle had damaged something deep inside, and the energy was leaking out slowly like blood from a wound. Tyrion, the Kalari engineer Hana had met before, stood beside her. His face showed despair. "The reactor must be replaced," he said. "There is no other option." "The damage is too deep." Hana did not answer. She was looking at the reactor, studying it, listening to the sounds it made. She walked around it slowly, touching the metal housing, feeling the heat and the vibration. "How long to replace it?" she asked. 6 months, perhaps more. "And if we do not replace it? How long until it fails completely?" Tyrion checked his readings. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Hana nodded. She continued to study the reactor. Her eyes moved across every crack, every damaged section, every failing component. She was not looking for what was broken. She was looking for what still worked. "I need wire," she said finally. "Thick copper wire. And sealant. The blue kind from Bay 7. And that cooling unit we took off the Dreth cargo ship last month." Tyrion stared at her. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to keep this reactor alive. Not fix it, not repair it. Just keep it alive long enough to get you home." "That is impossible." Hana smiled for the first time. "Watch me." She worked for 16 hours straight. She did not eat. She barely drank water. She crawled into spaces too small for most humans. Reached components that Kalari engineers thought were impossible to reach. She connected wires in ways that were not in any manual. She used the cooling unit from the Dreth ship to reduce heat in a critical section. She sealed cracks with her special sealant, whispering to the reactor as she worked. "Hold together," she said. "Just a little longer. You can do it." When she finally finished, the reactor was still damaged. It would never be perfect again. But it was stable. It would survive the journey home. Tyrion looked at the readings and then looked at Hana. There were tears in his eyes. "That should not work," he said. Hana wiped sweat from her face and shrugged. "It is working. That is what matters." Throughout the station, similar scenes played out. Human engineers found ways to save ships that should have been lost. They did not follow the rules. They did not use standard procedures. They asked themselves one simple question. What does this ship need to get its crew home safe? Old Choi Sung, a veteran welder of 52 years, spent 3 days rebuilding the hull of a destroyer. He welded metal plates over holes, reinforced weakened sections, and sealed cracks with steady hands that never shook. When young Kalari soldiers gathered to watch him work, He taught them card games during his short breaks and told them stories about Earth. "Why do you work so hard for us?" one young soldier asked. "We are not your people." Choi Sung smiled. "You are people. That is enough." Park Woo found a way to restore power to a cruiser that had lost its main generator. He connected 3 smaller generators in a way that no one had tried before. When it worked, the Kellery captain of that ship bowed to him deeply. "You saved my ship," the captain said. "You saved my crew." Woo looked embarrassed. "I just connected some wires." "You did more than that. You gave us hope." On the 10th day, Admiral Voss came to Kang Tae's small office. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, not sure what to say. "Sit down," Tae said, offering tea. Voss sat. He accepted the tea. He looked at the human across from him with new eyes. "I have fought for 40 years, Voss said slowly. "I have seen courage and cowardice. I have seen loyalty and betrayal. But I have never seen anything like what your people have done this week. I've never seen courage and cowardice. I have seen courage and cowardice." "We just fixed some ships," Tae said. "No." Voss shook his head. "You did much more. You treated my warriors with honor. You healed their wounds. You fed them. You gave them hope when they had none." "Why?" Tae was quiet for a moment. He looked out the window at the busy repair bays, at the humans and Kelari working side by side. "We were a broken species once," he said finally. "Wars, famines, disasters. We almost destroyed ourselves many times. We learned to fix things because we had to, and somewhere along the way, we learned that fixing things means caring about them. Ships, machines, people. It is all the same. If you do not care, you cannot truly fix anything." Voss considered this. "And the ships? Your people talk to them like they are alive." Tae smiled. "Perhaps they are, in a way. A ship carries people through the darkness of space. It protects them. It keeps them alive. How can we not respect that?" On the 12th day, the fleet was ready to leave. The ships were not perfect. They still carried scars from the battle. But they were strong enough to fly. Strong enough to carry their crews home. Voss stood in the main hangar, facing Kang Tae one final time. Behind him, thousands of Kelari soldiers waited to board their ships. "What do you want in return for this?" Voss asked. "Name your price." Tae shook his head. "No price. Just tell others we are here. Tell them what we do. That is enough." Voss did not understand. But he nodded. "I will tell them. I will tell everyone." He turned and walked toward his ship. But he stopped and looked back once. "Human," he said. "What you have here, it is special. Protect it." Then he was gone, and the fleet flew away into the stars. Tae watched them go. Beside him, Hana stood with tired eyes and a satisfied smile. "Think he will really tell people about us?" she asked. Tae nodded. "He will. And then everything will change." He was right. He just did not know how much. 6 months had passed since the Kelari fleet left Novadoc. In that time, everything had changed. Admiral Voss had kept his promise. He told everyone about the human repair yard. He told other admirals. He told politicians. He told merchants and traders and anyone who would listen. He described how the humans had saved his fleet in 12 days. He described how they had treated his warriors with respect and kindness. He described the woman who had saved his flagship's reactor with wire and sealant and prayers. The story spread across the galaxy like fire. Now, ships came to Novadoc from everywhere. Kelari warships, Dreth cargo vessels, Vethani trading ships, vessels from species that humans had never even heard of. They came with damaged engines and broken hulls. They came with failing life support and cracked reactors. They came because they had heard the stories. They came because they believed. Merchant Lord Oba, the Dreth trader who had been the first to arrive at Novadoc so many months ago, had become something like an ambassador. He traveled the trade routes telling everyone about the humans. He showed them the repair work on his own ship, the careful welds, the small improvements that no one had asked for, but everyone appreciated. "The humans do not just fix your ship," he would say. "They make it better. And they treat you like family." Other human stations began to open across the galaxy. Engineers who had trained at Novadoc started their own repair yards. They carried Kang Tae's philosophy with them. Care for the people first, then care for the ships. Treat every vessel like it matters. Leave every repair better than it needs to be. The Galactic Council, the organization of elder species that had guided the galaxy for millions of years, began to take notice. In their great hall, on the ancient world of Vethan Prime, the Pale Council gathered to discuss the human phenomenon. These were the oldest and wisest of the Vethani, beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall across countless centuries. They had seen young species burst onto the galactic stage before. Most faded away within a few thousand years. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 3 centuries. They were still children by Vethani standards. But these children were doing something unusual. Human repair yards now handle 40% of all non-military vessel maintenance in the outer sectors, one council member reported. Their market share grows every month. "How is this possible?" another asked. "They have no advanced technology. Their equipment is standard. Their facilities are unremarkable." "We do not know," the first member admitted. "We have sent observers. Their reports are confusing." The reports were indeed confusing. Human workers talked to ships. They named their tools. They hung pictures of their families in the repair bays. They played music while they worked. They cooked food and shared meals with alien customers. None of this should matter. None of this should affect the quality of their repairs. But it did. The numbers did not lie. Ships repaired at human yards had fewer problems afterward. They lasted longer. Their crews reported that the ships felt different after human repairs. Better, stronger, happier. Ships did not have feelings. This made no sense. Back at Novadoc, Park Woo had been thinking about this mystery for months. He had collected repair manuals from 30 different species. He had studied their methods, their procedures, their philosophies. And he had finally understood something important. He brought his findings to Kang Tae one evening, spreading data tablets across the old engineer's desk. "Look at this," Wu said, pointing to the tablets. "Every species follows procedures. Exact procedures. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. No variation. No creativity. If the procedure does not have a solution, they replace the entire component." "And humans?" Tae asked, already guessing the answer. "Humans improvise. We see the procedures as starting points, not ending points. When we face a problem that is not in the manual, we invent a solution. We try things. We experiment. We talk to the ship and ask what it needs." Tae nodded slowly. "You are saying our strength is that we do not follow rules? Our strength is that we think about why the rules exist. We understand the purpose behind the procedure. So when the procedure does not work, we can create a new one." Wu published his findings in a galactic engineering journal. The response was immediate and divided. Some alien engineers called his paper arrogant. How dare a young species claim to understand engineering better than civilizations millions of years older? Others called it insightful. A few even admitted that human methods produced results that traditional approaches could not match. The debate spread. And with the debate came attention. Some of that attention was unwanted. Yoon Hana received a message from a Vethani corporation. They offered her 3 times her current salary to work for them. They wanted her to teach their engineers the human method. They promised her wealth, status, and power. She refused. "Why?" Nari asked her afterward. "That offer would have made you rich," Hana shrugged. "They would not let me talk to the ships. They would not let me name my tools. They would make me follow their procedures exactly. I would not be me anymore. I would just be pretending." But not everyone was interested in learning from humans. Some saw them as a threat. In the dark corners of the galaxy, a coalition was forming. The great repair corporations of the elder species had dominated the industry for millennia. They had grown fat and comfortable on guaranteed contracts and high prices. Human competition was cutting into their profits. Human philosophy was challenging their authority. They decided to fight back. First came the propaganda. Stories began to spread about human repair work. Stories about shoddy welding. Stories about unsafe procedures. Stories about ships that failed after human repairs. None of these stories were true, but truth did not matter. Fear was the goal. "Have you heard about Novadoc?" People would whisper. "They say the humans cut corners. They say their repairs do not last. They say you should use proper facilities instead." The whispers reached some ears. A few customers stayed away, but most kept coming. The reputation of human yards was too strong to destroy with lies alone, so the coalition tried something else. A small human repair station called Horizon Point orbited a moon in the Dreth trade sector. It was run by a young woman named Kim Yuna, a former student of Kang Tae. She had opened her station 2 years ago with borrowed money and big dreams. Business had been growing steadily. One night, an explosion ripped through Horizon Point's main reactor. 3 workers died. The station was badly damaged. Yuna herself was injured. The official investigation called it an accident, a fuel leak, a spark. Tragedy. But no one's fault. But Nari did not believe it. She had contacts in Galactic Intelligence. She made calls. She asked questions. And she found answers that made her blood run cold. "It was not an accident," she told Tae in his office, her voice tight with anger. "The explosion was planned. A device was planted in the reactor room. Someone murdered those workers." Tae's face grew pale. "Who? We cannot prove it yet. But the evidence points to the corporate coalition. They are trying to scare people away from human stations. And they are willing to kill to do it. We cannot prove it yet. We cannot prove it yet. People away. We cannot prove it yet." Tae stood and walked to his window. Below, the repair bays hummed with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, trusting each other, helping each other, his people, his family. "They attacked a small station first," Nari continued. "A warning shot. But our sources say they are planning something bigger. Something that will prove human stations are dangerous." "Novadoc," Tae said quietly. "Novadoc," Nari confirmed. "They are coming for us." Tae was silent for a long moment. Then he turned back to face her. "Double security. Check every ship that comes in. Scan every piece of cargo. And do it quietly. I do not want to scare our guests. Do it quiet. Do it quiet. And if they attack anyway?" Tae looked out at his station one more time, at the workers laughing and talking, at the alien customers sharing meals with human engineers, at the ships being healed by human hands. "Then we will face it together," he said, "like we always do." But deep in his heart, he wondered if together would be enough. 3 weeks passed. Security was tightened. Everyone watched and waited. Ships continued to come for repairs. Life went on. And somewhere in the darkness, enemies were making their final plans. The attack was coming. And Novadoc was not ready. The day began like any other day at Novadoc. Morning shift workers arrived with cups of coffee and tired smiles. The night crew finished their repairs and headed to bed. Music played softly in the corridors. Someone was making breakfast in the main kitchen. 50 alien vessels were docked at the station. Kellery warships, Dreth freighters, Vithani traders, a Pale Council observation ship, even a small passenger liner carrying 300 Dreth civilians on their way to a colony world. Thousands of lives, all trusting the humans to keep them safe. Kang Tae walked through the repair bays as he did every morning. He stopped to talk with workers. He checked on difficult repairs. He visited the medical bay to see injured crew members from a Kellery cruiser that had arrived the night before. He smiled and joked and pretended that everything was normal, but it was not normal. 3 weeks of waiting had made everyone nervous. Security officers watched every corner. Engineers checked every system. And still, nothing happened. Maybe the intelligence was wrong, Tae thought. Maybe the attack was not coming after all. He was wrong. The first explosion hit Bay 4 at exactly 9 in the morning. The blast tore through a storage room filled with fuel canisters, sending fire racing through the corridors. Emergency alarms screamed to life. Lights flashed red. The station shook. Before anyone could react, a second explosion hit Bay 7. Then, Bay 12. Then, the main power relay. Hidden bombs, planted in the station over weeks by saboteurs disguised as repair crews, detonated in a careful sequence. Each blast was designed to cause maximum chaos. Fire suppression systems failed, bulkheads sealed, trapping workers in burning sections. Power flickered and died in entire wings of the station. In the command center, Nari watched her screens fill with red warnings. Hull breaches in 3 sections. Fires in 7 bays. Life support failing in the outer ring. And 50 ships, filled with thousands of aliens, trapped in a dying station. They hit us everywhere at once, she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. They wanted to make us choose. Choose what? Tay asked, arriving at a run. Save the station or save the ships. We cannot do both. Tay looked at the screens. He saw the fires spreading. He saw the ships, their crews watching in terror through their viewports. He saw his workers running toward danger. Not away from it. He made his choice. We save everyone, he said. All hands, all sections. Save the people first. Then save the ships. Then save the station. That is impossible, someone said. Then we will do the impossible. Throughout Nova Dock, humans ran toward the flames. In Bay 4, Choi Sung led a team of welders into a burning corridor. A Kellery frigate was trapped behind a wall of fire, its crew unable to escape. The heat was intense. The smoke was blinding. Any sane person would have turned back. Sung did not turn back. We need to cut through the outer wall, he shouted over the roar of flames. Make a new exit for them. The heat will kill us before we finish, a young worker protested. Then we work fast. They cut through the wall in 7 minutes. Fire burned Sung's arms and face. His lungs filled with smoke. But he kept cutting until the hole was large enough. Kelari warriors poured through, carried by human hands to safety. In Bay 12, Park Woo faced a different problem. The main reactor of a Vethany trading ship had been damaged by the blast. If it exploded, it would take out half the station. Shut it down remotely, Nari ordered through the communicator. I cannot, Woo replied. The control systems are fried. Someone has to do it manually. The radiation levels are lethal. I know. He started toward the ship. But before he could reach it, a Kelari engineer stepped in front of him. It was Tyrion, the same engineer who had watched Hana save the flagship's reactor 6 months ago. You saved my ship, Tyrion said. Now I will save yours. He walked into the radiation without hesitation. Woo watched, helpless, as Tyrion reached the reactor controls and began the shutdown sequence. The readings stabilized. The danger passed. Tyrion walked out alive but badly irradiated. Human medics rushed to treat him. He would survive, but just barely. Why? Woo asked him later. You could have died, Tyrion smiled weakly. You showed us what family means. How could I do less? Something amazing was happening throughout the station. The aliens were not just escaping. They were fighting back. Kellery warriors from the 5th Fleet, who had happened to be at Nova Dock for upgrades, charged into burning sections to rescue trapped workers. Dreth traders used their cargo handling equipment to move debris. Even the pale Vethani observers picked up tools and helped seal hull breaches. They were not doing this because they had to. They were doing it because they wanted to. In Bay 7, Yunhana faced the worst crisis of all. The Dreth passenger liner was losing containment. Its emergency power had failed. In 30 minutes, 300 civilians would die from lack of oxygen. The only way to restore power was to manually restart the backup generator. But the generator room was flooded with radiation from a cracked fuel line. Anyone who entered would receive a lethal dose. Hana did not hesitate. Seal the door behind me, she told her team. Do not open it until I signal. You will die in there, someone protested. Maybe. But those 300 people will definitely die if I do not try. She walked into the radiation. The heat was immediate. She could feel her skin burning, her cells dying. Every instinct screamed at her to run. She kept walking. The generator was damaged but not destroyed. She worked quickly, her hands moving by instinct and training. She reconnected wires. She bypassed damaged circuits. She whispered to the machine, begging it to work. Please, she said. Please, those people need you. I need you. The generator hummed to life. Power flowed to the passenger liner. Life support came back online. 300 lives were saved. Hana stumbled out of the generator room and collapsed. Medics rushed to her side. She was alive, but the radiation had done terrible damage. Her hands would never be steady enough to repair ships again. Her career as an engineer was over, but she was smiling. Did they make it? She whispered. The passengers? They made it, someone told her. You saved them all. Good, she said, and closed her eyes. The fires burned for 6 more hours. When they finally died, Novadoc was badly damaged. Entire sections were destroyed. Systems were failing. The station would need months of repairs, but not a single person had died, human or alien. Everyone had survived. In the aftermath, workers sat in the damaged corridors, too tired to move. Humans and aliens together, covered in soot and burns and blood. No one spoke. No one needed to. A young Kelari soldier looked around at the destruction and the survivors. Why? He asked. Why did you risk everything for us? Park Wu was sitting nearby. He looked up at the soldier with exhausted eyes. Because you were here, he said simply. That is enough. Footage of the disaster spread across the galaxy. Every species saw what had happened at Novadoc. They saw humans running into fire to save alien lives. They saw aliens fighting beside humans to save the station. They saw courage and sacrifice and something else, something that many species had forgotten existed. They saw love. The propaganda about shoddy human work collapsed overnight. The truth was undeniable. Human stations were not dangerous because of their methods. Human stations were targeted because they were too good. Because they threatened the old powers. Because they represented something new and frightening. They represented hope. 3 days after the attack, a Kelari battle group appeared in the space around Novadoc. Admiral Voss himself led the fleet. He had come as soon as he heard the news. He met Kang Tae in the damaged main hangar. The human looked older now, tired, but unbroken. You saved my fleet, Voss said. Now we will save your home. Admiral, you do not need to. Yes, I do. Voss put his hand on Tae's shoulder. It was the first time he had ever touched a human. This is what family does. You taught us that. Well, the Kellery ships took up positions around Novadoc. They would guard the station while it healed. They would protect it from anyone who tried to attack again. Standing in the observation deck, watching the warships take their positions, Hana smiled through her bandages. I think, she said to Nari, who stood beside her, the galaxy just changed. Nari nodded. I think you are right. Below them, in the repair bays, humans and aliens were already working together to rebuild. The station was broken, but it would heal. Everything broken could be fixed. That was the human way. 1 year had passed since the attack on Novadoc. The station had been rebuilt. It was larger now, stronger, with new repair bays and expanded medical facilities. A ring of defense platforms orbited nearby, built and maintained by a coalition of species who had sworn to protect the human station. Kelari warships patrolled the sector. Dreth cargo haulers carried supplies. Even Vithani observation vessels kept watch, recording everything for their ancient archives. Novadoc was no longer just a repair yard. It was a symbol. A symbol of what happened when different species worked together. A symbol of what was possible when people cared about each other. Kang Tae stood on the observation deck, looking out at his station. He was older now. His hair had turned completely gray. His hands ached from decades of work, but his eyes still held the same warmth they always had. "You should rest," Nari said, standing beside him. "The ceremony does not start for another 3 hours." "I like watching the ships come in," Tay replied. "It reminds me why we do this." A small freighter was approaching the station. Damaged engine, cracked hull. Nothing special. But Tay watched it with the same attention he gave every vessel. Every ship mattered. Every life mattered. That was the point. That had always been the point. In the training center on level 7, Yunhana stood before a class of young engineers. They came from dozens of species. Humans, Kelari, Dreth, Vithani, and others. They had come to learn the human way. Hana's hands trembled slightly as she held up a simple wrench. The radiation had damaged her nerves. She could no longer perform delicate repairs. But she could still teach. "This is not just a tool," she told her students. "This is a promise. When you pick up this wrench, you are promising to do your best work. You are promising to care. Do you understand?" A young Kelari raised his hand. "How do we learn to care about machines? They are not alive." Hana smiled. She had heard this question many times. Every machine has a story. This ship flew through storms. That ship carried children to safety. This reactor kept a colony warm through a long winter. When you work on a machine, you become part of its story. You are helping it tell more chapters. How can you not care about that? The students looked thoughtful. Some nodded slowly. Others still looked confused. That was fine. Understanding came with time. "Before we work on any ship," Hana continued, "we listen to its crew. We ask them about their journeys. We learn what the ship has done, what it has survived. Then, when we repair it, we are not just fixing metal. We are honoring its service. We are thanking it for keeping its people safe." She set down the wrench and picked up a small piece of paper. On it was a sketch of a ship's engine, drawn in careful detail. "This is from a class I taught last month." A Dreth student drew it. He spent 3 hours just looking at the engine before he touched it. He wanted to understand it first. That is the human way. We look, we listen, we learn, and then we help. In another part of the station, Park Woo was supervising a complicated repair on a Vithani science vessel. He was a senior engineer now, respected across the sector. But he still worked on the floor with his teams. He still got his hands dirty, and he still snuck unauthorized improvements into alien ships. "You changed the power flow configuration," the Vithani captain said, examining her ship's systems after the repair was complete. Wu tried to look innocent. "Did I? Our efficiency has increased by 7%. Is that bad?" The captain made a sound that might have been a laugh. "No, it is not bad. Thank you, human." After she left, Choi Sung walked over to Wu. The old welder was 70 now, officially retired, but he still came to the station every day. He said he liked the atmosphere. "Still breaking the rules?" Sung asked with a grin. "Some rules need to be broken," Wu replied. "Besides, I always ask first. Now, well, usually." They both laughed. It was an old joke between them. "Tay wants to see you," Sung said. "The ceremony is starting soon." The ceremony was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Assembly, the great gathering of all known species, had voted to officially recognize human repair yards as protected spaces under galactic law. Any attack on a human station would be considered an attack on the entire galactic community. It was an honor never before given to such a young species. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the main assembly hall on Novadoc. Kellery admirals stood beside Dreth merchants. Vethany elders sat near young species barely out of their first century of spaceflight. They had all come to witness this moment. Kang Tae stood at the podium, looking out at the gathering. His heart beat fast. He was not comfortable with speeches. He was comfortable with wrenches and welding torches and the hum of engines being brought back to life. But some things needed to be said. "We have been asked," he began, his voice steady despite his nerves, "why alien fleets prefer human repair yards. The answer is not our tools. Other species have better tools. The answer is not our technology. Our technology is standard. The answer is not even our skills. Many species have engineers far more experienced than ours." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "The answer is simpler than that. We believe that everything broken can be fixed. We believe that everything damaged can be healed. We believe that everyone lost can be found." His voice grew stronger. "We believe in second chances. For ships. For people. For civilizations. We believe that no one is beyond help. We believe that caring about something makes you better at fixing it." He looked around the hall, at the faces watching him, at Hana, standing with her students, at Wu and Sung and Nari, at Admiral Voss, who had become a friend, at all the aliens who had once been strangers and were now family. "That is not a strategy," Tay said. "That is just who we are." Silence followed. Then, slowly, applause began. It grew and grew until the hall shook with it. Species who had never applauded together. Species who had been enemies for millennia. Species who had not thought they had anything in common. They were all applauding together now. After the ceremony, the phrase "human touch" began to spread through alien languages. It meant care beyond requirement. It meant going further than expected. It meant treating strangers like family. Human repair methods began to appear in other species' shipyards. Not perfectly, not everywhere, but trying. Engineers who had followed procedures for thousands of years began to ask themselves why. They began to look at ships and see more than machines. They began to understand. The change was slow. It would take generations, but it had begun. 1 week after the ceremony, a small ship appeared near Nova Dock. It was tiny, barely bigger than a shuttle. Its design was unknown. Its language was unknown. Its species was unknown. The crew were small beings with large eyes and trembling limbs. They had achieved spaceflight only 2 years ago. This was their first journey beyond their home system. They had gotten lost. They had run out of fuel. They had drifted for weeks, certain they would die in the darkness. Then they had seen the lights of Nova Dock. They did not know if the station was friendly. They did not know if the beings inside would help them or harm them. They were terrified, but they had no choice. Kang Tae stood at the airlock of Bay 1, watching the small ship land. Behind him, Nari waited with translators and medical equipment. Hana was there too, leaning on a cane but smiling. Wu and Sung stood nearby. Even Admiral Voss had come down from his flagship to watch. The airlock opened. The small aliens stepped out. They looked up at the humans, and the Kalari and the others, fear bright in their large eyes. They did not know what to expect. They did not know what these strange beings would do. Tay smiled. He bowed slightly, the same way he had bowed to every visitor for 40 years. "Welcome to Nova Dock," he said, his words translated instantly by the devices Nari carried. "My name is Tay. Are you hurt? Is your crew safe?" The small aliens did not understand. This was not what they expected. These beings should have demanded something. Payment. Service. Submission. That was how power worked. That was what they had learned in their short time among the stars. But Tay just smiled at them and offered a cup of warm tea. "Come," he said. "Rest. Eat. We will take care of your ship. We will help you get home." "Why?" one of the aliens asked. Its voice was small and scared. "Why would you help us? You do not know us." Tay's smile grew wider. Behind him, Sung chuckled quietly. Hana wiped a tear from her eye. Even Voss seemed moved. "Because you are here," Tay said simply. "That is enough." In the observation bay, watching the scene below, old Choi Sung remembered something. He remembered a time, long ago, when humanity had been young and scared, when they had first ventured into the galaxy, uncertain if anyone would welcome them, when they had wondered if they mattered at all. Someone had helped them once. Someone had shown them kindness when they expected none. Someone had taught them that strangers could become family, and now they were passing that gift forward, ship by ship, life by life, generation by generation. That was why alien fleets preferred human repair yards. Not because humans were the best engineers, not because their technology was superior, not because their prices were lower, because humans cared, because humans remembered what it was like to be small and scared and alone, because humans believed that the universe was not cold and empty, but full of potential friends waiting to be found. That was the heart of humanity's power, and it would shine across the stars forever.